The story begins with a boy born on a small farm in South Africa named Peter Keith. Everyone affectionately called him PK. His father passed away just days before his birth, bringing hardship upon the family. A few years later, they had just recovered from this tragedy when suddenly, one day, a dangerous disease spread among the farm animals, killing all the cows. This event left PK's mother deeply distressed. She felt she couldn't manage the farm as well as her husband had. However, PK's mother didn't want his education to suffer because of her. Therefore, she enrolled him in a boarding school run by Afrikaners, whose ancestors had fled Europe to Africa hundreds of years ago. They not only considered black people inferior to themselves, but also disliked the British. On the first day of school, when PK went to history class, the teacher began telling the children about the wars between the Afrikaners and the British. All the children listened attentively. The teacher told the children stories about how the British were terribly evil and had oppressed their people. It was then that PK realized that he was the only British boy in the class. All the children were now staring at PK angrily. To them, he had become an enemy. As if that wasn't enough, suddenly a boy sitting behind PK spat in his face. An atmosphere of hatred against him filled the entire class. The following days were not easy for PK at all. A mischievous boy named Braden came with some of his friends and caught PK in the bathroom. They then started berating him, calling him a lowlife, and then all three of them urinated on him. The boy was being harassed terribly. PK was now so scared that he would wet his bed in his sleep. As if all this wasn't enough, the next day news arrived that his mother had also died. He rushed home for her funeral. PK deeply regretted leaving his mother in such a sick state. Perhaps if he had stayed behind, his mother would have found a way to live. PK's only family left was his grandfather. Before leaving for school, PK told his nanny everything about how the children at school were teasing him. The woman loved PK like her own son. To alleviate PK's troubles, his nanny called a man named Dabula Manzi, a healer from their tribe. He was called to alleviate PK's fear. After performing a special African ritual, they placed PK in front of an elephant. When the elephant roared loudly, PK didn't run away and instead touched its trunk with his hand. Now PK's fear was completely gone. Furthermore, the tribe gave him a rooster before school, which they believed would protect him. Whenever other mischievous children came to harass PK, the rooster would wake him up early. This didn't make much difference, but at least PK had a chance to get ready. Some time passed, and World War II began. The atmosphere of war was everywhere. Students who hated the British began idolizing Hitler, and they had only one target in the entire school: PK. One day, all the students grabbed PK and handed him over to Brayton. Brayton was no less than a dictator. He slapped PK hard and even killed PK's rooster to show his power. PK's fear had now turned to rage. He pushed Brayton with all his might, causing him to fall down and a small flag to pierce his back. To avenge this, Brayton hung PK upside down and now wanted to kill him. Finally, the school teacher arrived, spanking Brayton for his rude behavior. Brayton was expelled from school for attempting to hit another student. After this incident, PK was sent back to his grandfather, but he wasn't ready to take responsibility for PK yet. So, he entrusted his upbringing to a man named Doc. Doc had fled Germany during Hitler's rule. His entire family had been killed by the Nazis. They had no one else in the world except each other. So, they didn't realize when this pair of teacher and student became family. Life was going great. Doc was teaching PK how to live. But one day, Doc was suddenly arrested by the British police because he had hidden the fact that he was German. The British imprisoned him, but the head of the prison and many of the guards were Afrikaners, and they allowed PK to visit Doc whenever he wanted, so that the child wouldn't feel alone. PK and Doc's bond remained strong even behind bars. But the problem remained the same. He was still being bullied at school. Doc understood his problem and introduced him to Gil Piet for training. Gil Piet had spent almost his entire life in prison, and now, at Doc's request, he became PK's boxing coach. The first thing he taught PK was to use his brain first, then his heart. In exchange for a training session, Gil Piet asked Doc for tobacco. But Sergeant Borman overheard this and, without warning, began beating Gil Piet in front of everyone. But Gil Piet endured the pain silently. PK, watching all this, kept thinking to himself that he would give Gil Piet tobacco no matter what. Anyway, PK continued to learn boxing. As he grew older, he became even better. he earned his place in the prison championship. Gil PA had trained PK very well. PK had become quite agile and strong. By winning the prison championship, PK earned respect among the black Africans. PK would also sneak tobacco into the prison for the prisoners, hiding it in flower pots. One day, Gil Piet was taking the tobacco bucket from PK and going to his cell when Borman caught him. Gil Piet immediately threw the bucket away. But Borman knew the truth. He put some mud and tobacco on his shoe and asked Gil Piet to lick it. Borman was amused by this behavior. A few days later, news came of Hitler's death and the end of the war. Doc was overjoyed. He had hoped to go home, but PK was deeply saddened by this. He didn't want Doc to leave him. Sometime later, Doc was put in charge of a welcome concert celebrating the arrival of the commissioner. PK and Gil Piet seized the opportunity and wrote a song in an African language, mocking the guards, right under their noses. The day of the concert arrived, and everyone was tense. The prison head warned everyone that even one mistake would turn their fun into punishment. But as soon as the music started, all the prisoners burst into song with joy. The guards were confused, unable to understand the lyrics. Meanwhile, Gil Piet was finishing his work on a ladder. Borman caught him and started beating him, asking him what the song meant. Gil Piet initially thought hard, but then said that it meant the guards were cowards. PK, on the other hand, realized Gil Piet was missing, so he ran to find him. Before he could find him, it was too late. As he lay dying, Gil Piet thanked PK for uniting all the black tribes and reiterated what he had first told him: use your head first, not your heart. A few more years passed, and PK had grown into a young man. He was now studying at an English school in Johannesburg. PK continued his boxing at school. One day, a match occurred in which PK fell down after being hit by the first punch. He was about to lose the match when he saw a girl urging him to get up. He also heard chants from outside. These were the voices of black students who, due to apartheid, were not allowed into the stadium. He began raining punches down on his opponent, after which PK won the fight resoundingly. Everyone was busy praising PK, but his eyes were searching for that girl. With the help of his friend Maury, PK finally found her. Her name was Maria, the daughter of a man named Daniel Moraes, a prominent leader in the Nationalist Party. PK wanted to meet her, so he mustered up the courage to sneak into Maria's boarding school that night. He then went to meet her on her balcony. They had very little time together, but PK promised her that he would discuss their relationship with her father the next day. The next day, Maury took PK to a gym where whites and blacks trained together. PK also met Hoppy, the owner of the gym, and a very good boxing coach. Hoppy was impressed by PK's boxing talent and decided to train him himself, but despite all this, PK still thought about Maria. He then went to Maria's house the next day to talk to her father. However, Maria's father chased him away, saying, "Don't even dream of such a thing or I'll skin you." But Maria wasn't bothered. She defied her father and came to the boxing gym to meet PK. Shortly after, Elias blocked PK's path. Elias had served time in prison with Gil Piet. He was a boxing agent. Elias explained, "I was the one gathering people outside when your match was going on." He then introduced PK to Duma. Duma challenged PK, saying, "Black people have just as much energy as you. If you have guts, come and fight me." PK happily accepted the challenge and then went with them to Alexandra. It was a black township with extreme poverty. A large crowd had gathered to watch Duma and PK fight. The two were trading punches in the ring. Both were extremely skilled athletes, but Duma was already gaining the upper hand. He knocked PK to the mat with a powerful punch, but PK refused to give up. As the next round began, PK began looking for Duma's weaknesses, but Duma knocked him out again. As soon as PK fell, his mind replayed the memories of his childhood, and he decided he could never accept defeat. In the next round, PK landed 8 powerful punches that left Duma speechless. Each punch was more powerful than the last. Duma fell down, and PK had now won. But no one there was happy about his victory, because the people there were Duma's supporters. There was silence everywhere, but Duma was impressed by PK's fighting style. He stood up, raised PK's hand, and said, "This is what a warrior who never gives up is." Everyone erupted in joy. They now considered PK their own. Gil Piet had told many people stories about PK, calling him the rainmaker who would unite the tribes. After some time, PK returned to his boarding school. He wanted to see Maria. PK told Maria everything about Alexandra, about the poor conditions the people there lived in. The next day, PK went back to Alexandra with Duma to train the children there. While touring the village, PK saw a long line waiting for a bathroom. The government had built only one bathroom for 200 people. The conditions there were terrible. PK learned that only 2% of the people there were literate. He realized that until now he had been living a life of luxury. Duma asked PK, "Why don't you teach English to these children here?" Duma wanted the children there to be prepared for the challenges ahead, but PK knew it wouldn't be that easy. The government would never let him do that. Then Duma reminded him, "You're a warrior who never gives up." These words touched his heart. Seeing the plight of black people in his own country made him feel very bad. He went to his school's headmaster and said, "Let's educate them too." PK spoke with such passion that the headmaster agreed, but PK would have to teach them himself. PK then went to meet Maria. Maria asked him, "Will you come with me to a dance party?" But PK explained, "Dance parties aren't that important. You should go there and see what those people are like." That night, Maria was having dinner at home with her family. Now she too was deeply worried about the people of Alexandra. When her own family members spoke disparagingly about black people, "I want to go to Alexandra. I want to give those poor people their rights." Daniel was enraged by her words and stood up and slapped Maria. Meanwhile, PK and Maury welcomed Duma and his friends to the school for lessons. This task was not without risk. The next day, while class was in progress, Maria suddenly appeared and said, "I also want to help you teach these people." PK thanked her but said, "Don't come here, it would increase the chances of getting caught." The next day, PK was summoned to the headmaster's room. The school had received orders from Colonel Botha and his assistant, Brighton, to stop teaching black people. Botha and Brighton were the same figures from PK's childhood who had harassed him. Now they were police officers working for the government. They were also spying on PK for Daniel. The headmaster told PK and Maury that they both had a chance to attend Oxford University on full scholarships. PK understood that this was Daniel's ploy to get them out of his way. A few days later, while PK was training at the gym, Brayton arrived with some of his soldiers to seal the gym. Brayton told his soldiers to beat them up and warned them not to mingle with black people. Now PK was very scared. He realized that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't confront the government alone. He had decided to go to Oxford University and tried to convince Maria to go with him. While passing by the gym, he encountered Hoppy painting a picture depicting a black man and a white man fighting together. Hoppy had decided, "I'm not afraid of anyone." But the next day, Brayton came to the gym at night with his soldiers, kicked everyone out, and set the gym on fire. As the soldiers took Hoppy to jail, he told PK never to give up, not just in boxing, but in fighting for the truth. After hearing Hoppy's words, PK also decided he wouldn't give up. With the help of Maury and Maria, he began teaching black Africans, using a church as a platform. Everything was going well until Botha and Brayton raided the church. A fight broke out, and in the midst of the chaos, Maria was accidentally hit in the head with a stick. She fell to the ground, dying instantly. PK was broken. When he went to Maria's funeral, Daniel became enraged and moved to kill him. PK was no longer afraid. Just then, a voice called out, all the children of Alexandra, whom Maria had taught, had come with their families. Their unity forced Daniel to retreat. After Maria's death, PK's courage vanished. He told Duma, "Brother, I'm going to Oxford. I can't take it anymore." But then he saw the children there speaking the English he had taught them. PK realized it was more important for him to stay. He changed his decision, convinced that the fight must continue. One evening, panic broke out in Alexandra. Soldiers entered, looking for PK. PK and Duma tried to escape. As they were running, Brayton shot Duma in the leg. Duma urged PK to run. Duma, seizing the opportunity, picked up a spear and thrust it into Colonel Botha's chest, killing him instantly. Meanwhile, Brayton was about to kill Elias when PK attacked him. Finally, he got his chance to take revenge for all the years of harassment. PK beat Brayton severely. Brayton tried to reach for his pistol to shoot PK, but Duma hit him hard with a heavy object, killing him. Duma and PK finally escaped to the hills. They congratulated each other and promised not to stop until the situation in their country changed. If you enjoy what we do here, please like the video and subscribe to this channel to keep us motivated. See you on the next video.